you are going to be a little disappointed we aren't in the studio doing drafting tonight, but your boy had to get out, get some exercise. I need to go running, and I thought I'd do a little Q&A session with you guys tonight, and answer some questions and do it live outside like we sometimes do. Some of you love the nighttime live stream, some of you don't, but I'm here to assist you, so ask away. Appreciate everybody in here. Punch that thumb up button. The wide receiver top 10 rookie wide receiver ranking video dropped. It's on the site, right, or on it's the top video on the YouTube channel. Go check it out. I may or may not go live on the Dynasty channel, which the link is in the description. So make sure you're subscribed to the Dynasty channel. We'll probably go live a little later tonight. I don't expect a ton of people to be in there at that moment, but it's okay. We need to get content up on it, and it'll probably be something along the lines of the rookie wide receivers and talking about the dynasty values, because as you've noticed by now, a lot of the content that I create on the Dynasty channel piggybacks off of the most recent video or two on the main channel. So if I talk about Justin Fields' potential trades, what's his value, where could he go, then later on that day, you're probably going to see a Dynasty Justin Fields video, because I feel like it goes hand in hand pretty well. Hit that thumb up button on your way in the door. So, yeah, as you can tell, I'm not in the studio right now, so we're not going to be doing any drafting right now. What's up, James? First in the building. Ron Navy, second. Frake. Kyle, appreciate you. Philip, Thomas, what's up? So ask away. The Dynasty rookie wide receiver video tonight that we're going to do is going to be fun, but let's talk about the rookies from a dynasty or redraft perspective right now. I know a lot of you have questions about Jackson Smith and Jigba. I know some of you have questions about Quentin, and then you got this Zay Flowers, who's probably my favorite wide receiver of the group. Even though I ranked him 4, when I'm watching the video, I want to put him 2. When I'm looking at it now, I want to put him 1. When I'm looking tomorrow, I want to put him back at 4. I think it's only honest to tell you that I'm wavering all over the place on these 2023 rookie wide receivers. And if anybody says they're concrete on stuff like this and they never waver or change their mind as they read news, as they rewatch all the footage, they're out of their mind. They either don't analyze stuff properly or they're not being honest. Where's Derek Carr going? Jets are a real strong possibility. The Bucks, the Saints, depending on how that really went down in New Orleans when Derek Carr went there to visit. If things went differently than we think, meaning they didn't crap all over him and say take a pay cut and he just walked out of there. If that's actually bad reporting and bad information, maybe the Saints and Derek Carr are in a good position to get something done. But back to the rookies real quick. I'll just say that it wouldn't shock me one single bit if Zay Flowers climbed the most and got into my number 1 wide receiver spot. So he's number 4 right now for a lot of reasons, but he's like quietly in crafty fashion number 4. So Jackson Smith and Jigba is the number 1. Go watch the video. It's the most recent video dropped. Number 2 is Jordan Addison. Quentin Johnston is number 3, and Zay Flowers number 4. And Zay Flowers is number 4 with an asterisk because he could literally be the number 1. I firmly believe that if Zay Flowers, I think he's going to blow away the combine. I think Zay Flowers is going to increase his draft value to the tune of being the 2nd or 3rd wide receiver drafted. I think that Quentin Johnston is going to probably climb himself into the number 1 drafted wide receiver spot. I think he'll go in the top 10. I think 2 wide receivers could go in the top 12. I think 3 wide receivers could be gone by 18. We never know. You never know. It could be 4 wide receivers by 18, 4 wide receivers by 20. We have no clue. It's certainly going to be an interesting thing to watch the progression of some of these guys and the climb on some scouting rankings, on my rankings, on everybody's rankings, on your rankings, on everybody's on the opinion in the chat. Where these guys are going to go. Smith and Jigba is going to be the best in this class. He has all the intangibles. It's definitely possible, bro. They're all very, very arguable, and they're all very more so than the RBs. They're very prone to change, I think, logically in anyone's mind, given the landing spots and given the height. Is Jordan Addison too small? Watch the video, Donovan. I break that down in a 40-minute video. But in a nutshell, he doesn't play small. He doesn't even look small. When you watch the footage, he doesn't look small at all. Like when someone says, "Oh, he's Devontae Smith small," you're like, "What? What is he talking about?" Like Jordan Addison looks like he's 6 foot, 200 pounds. When he's on the field, but he's like 175 to 180. I think he'll weigh in about 180, 182. He'll probably not want to gain too much weight. He doesn't want to slow down his 40 time, but I think he will want to come in as close to 180 as possible. That won't set off any alarms. 170 is very, very, very thin, but at the same time, he doesn't look thin. He doesn't play thin, and we've seen Devontae Smith look pretty darn good at this point. So I don't know that it's such a big red flag for teams and coaches and scouts anymore because we've seen Devontae Smith do it. And Addison he was voted the best wide receiver in the country in 2021, had a remarkable year. And then he decided to transfer from Pitt and go to USC. And I don't know why he did that. He said he wanted to find a better coach and kind of, find himself, I guess, kind of searching for something. I don't know what he was, but what he found was a lower stat line. He went from, what was it, 1,500 yards and whatever amount, 17 touchdowns. I think it was like about 1,600 yards and 17 touchdowns in 2021. He went from that stat line in Pitt with Pickett to Addison, dropping all the way down to 808. So it was quite a decline for Addison. If Addison had another 1,400, 1,300, 1,500 yards and another 10 plus TDs, probably would be looking at the consensus lock across the board for the number one wide receiver. So his 800 yards and 8 TDs by transferring from out of Pitt in that situation into a new situation was really not the best move for him. It was not the wisest move for him. Didn't work out well, but hey, it is what it is. I mean, I still think he's a remarkable prospect, and he's still number 2 on my wide receiver ranking list right now. But that doesn't mean that he won't fall to 3, and at no expense of anything other than the fact that I love Zay Flowers that much. Quentin Johnston's climbing boards rapidly because of his size and the fact that he is a good route runner. I mean, he is a phenomenal route runner. It's not like he's not a good route runner at all. He's a phenomenal route runner. So there's a possibility, strong possibility that we see all these guys get jostled around in everyone's rankings as we move forward. Let's see here. What do we got? We got who do you think will pull the trigger early on Bijan? 19th projected to the Bucks on a few websites I've checked out. Maybe Philly at 10. Philly's the most attractive landing spot for fantasy owners to see Bijan go to at 10. 9, 8, 7. It's kind of like Bijan Row is what I call 7, 8, 9, 10. It feels like Bijan Row. You got the Raiders, you've got the Panthers, you've got the Eagles, you've got a slew of teams, 4 teams in a row on Bijan Row that could potentially take them. And if they don't, Houston at 12 is a possibility. Houston at 12 would make sense from a franchise perspective if you see Bijan like I do, a generational talent. I know that's bad for Pierce. Be the death of Pierce. I get it, but if I'm running things in Houston and they're running things really well now, this is a very, very good organization run by a very good GM with now what I believe to be a very good players coach in DeMeco Ryans, and Caserio knows what he's doing. This Houston Texans situation is not the same one that buried Deshaun Watson on the bench. This is the one Caserio came in and cleaned that up and traded Deshaun Watson away in one of the biggest and best deals in NFL history. So they know what they're doing. And if Houston sees Bijan there at 12, I think there's a real strong shot that they take him. I don't think that they're afraid to take Bijan at all. If Bijan falls past 12, so 7, 8, 9, 10, Eagles don't take him at 10. They'd be crazy not to, but they may not. They got 2 first-round picks. Whatever they want to do at 10, they can do it at 30. So I would, if it was me, I'm gonna take Bijan. If they pass on him at 10, he gets passed on at 12. there's a strong shot that he falls all the way down, because all those teams from like 13 down to Tampa Bay at what, 19? I think Tampa Bay's at 19. That is there's a big dead zone for a need of running back, or there's no need, and so you could see him go at 21 to the Chargers. I believe we're at 21 or 22. I believe 22. Maybe they're at 22, 21. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. And I mean, look. You could say, hey, Eckler's there, but we've seen lightning and thunder before. Not to mention Eckler's 28 years old. So Herbert, Bijan for the next 7 years, 6 years sounds pretty good to me. I don't think Eckler's going to be a thing a year and a half from now or a year from now. Could he have another electric year? He certainly could. I'm going to bet against it because he's 28 years old. He's a smaller statured running back, asked to be a workhorse in a very rough NFL, and he's been very injury prone a lot of his career. Even though he stayed relatively healthy, last year. I'm 100% fine with the Charger situation, but are there better situations? Yeah, Eagles are much better. The Raiders, if they bring in Aaron Rodgers, and they're probably losing that draft pick, I don't think they're going to be able to draft Bijan there. They're going to have to give up that number 7 in order to surrender for Aaron Rodgers. So that's going to definitely be something that I can't see happening. Aaron Rodgers and Bijan together. It's going to be a franchise tag of Josh Jacobs and then trade the 7 pick in an Aaron Rodgers deal. And so if Aaron Rodgers is in Las Vegas, so will Josh Jacobs, in my opinion. Let's see here. Hot take: if the Ravens keep Lamar and draft JSN, he's an automatic top 10 wide receiver. Yeah, I think that's possible. I don't think that Lamar is the best quarterback for a wide receiver, though. I think in that system, if Lamar goes to Miami, Lamar is going to be a top 5 quarterback because that system with the wide receivers will make Lamar amazing. Baltimore, I don't feel sets up Lamar for success. And while I think JSN would potentially get utilized quite a bit and be good, I'm not saying he wouldn't be good there. I'm just saying there are potentially better landing spots, in my opinion. Better landing spots for JSN than Lamar. Lamar's a great one. I'm just saying, could there be better ones? Yeah. But that would be pretty phenomenal. What's up, Brian? Any chance the Cardinals take a QB at 3? No, I was hoping there was, but this GM loves Kyler Murray, bro. He's posted video after video after video. A lot of the promos that they've cut up with the head coach and the Cardinals together, teaming up to try and generate hype around the Valley. All the social media posts, everything's been about Kyler, how much he loves Kyler, saying that we're building around this quarterback. Everything is going to be built around Kyler, is what he said. So, the only hope I have as a Cardinal fan is that he's going to do a good job doing it, and then maybe Kyler's supported enough they go after, maybe they go after a wide receiver. Maybe the Cardinals draft Jackson Smith and Jigba. Maybe the Cardinals go after a guy like Quentin Johnston. Like, can you imagine if the Cardinals drafted Quentin Johnston? I'm not saying they'll take him at 3, but maybe this coach trades down into like the 15 range, and we take a Jackson Smith and Jigba or a Quentin Johnson or a Jordan Addison. It wouldn't shock me the way that this new head coach is talking about Kyler Murray and supporting him and building everything around Kyler. It wouldn't shock me one single bit if this organization and this new GM, Monty Ford, whatever his name is. I kind of like him. He seems like an aggressive guy. Came over from Tennessee. It could be a good situation for the Arizona Cardinals. So I'm getting excited. A little more excited than normal. Smitty, it's been a minute. Hope all is well. Thank you, Gravy. Where you been? Any chance Arizona takes Bijan number 3? No, they're not. I'd rather have Swift or Jacobs in Dynasty. I'd probably rather have Swift. Maybe in redraft Jacobs in Dynasty, I'd rather take a gamble on Swift, I suppose. Any chance Arizona? No, rather than Swift. Okay, man, Mac Jones is going to be available because of Zappy. I don't know, bro. All I know is that Mac Jones is not it. And I don't want him, and I know a lot of people don't want him. I don't want him. I want nothing to do with Mac Jones. Also, like him at 17 to Pittsburgh. I don't like that at all. No. I appreciate your take, but there's no way I want Jackson Smith and Jigba going to Pittsburgh. That needs to be Pickens Pickens' job. You know, I don't like it at all. Jordan Addison paired up with Kenny Pickett. I mean, Ron, it's possible they try and pair those two back up. That's been a thing recently in the NFL, pairing old wide receiver quarterback connections from college at the pro level to make the quarterback adjust really well. Smitty, if the Bears keep Fields and don't trade the pick, do you think they're going with Anderson, edge rusher from Alabama? Probably that's probably what they would do, but they're trading out of the pick. Number one, they'll find it very, very easy to trade with anybody in the top 10, just to move down like 2, 3, 4, 5 spots and get, potentially a future first rounder or a couple seconds or whatever, depending on how low they drop. But you could drop from 1 to 7 or 1 to 8 and literally have to give up and surrender a first round pick in 2024, 2025. Or like a pick in the 28 to 30 range to make that one move. Jameson Williams a good pick next year, I suppose, bro. But we don't fully know. A lot of people had super high expectations for Jameson as a rookie, and my main thing was you need to pump the brakes and tread lightly with expectations of Jameson doing anything coming off of a recovering year where he was like a month or so into his ACL recovery process, like during the draft. So he was so far away from being ready that when people thought, okay, he's coming back in week 9, week 10, week 11, when's he coming back, that he's going to start off on fire. But no. Exactly what I said would happen happened. He showed flashes a couple times of what might be to come. But until Jameson Williams gets to a consistent level, like passes the eye test, then I think it's St. Brown. You know what I mean? Like, is it possible that St. Brown heeds way to and surrenders the number one role to Jameson Williams in the next year and a half? It's possible. They're both capable of being the number one in Detroit. I guess the downside would be if Jameson Williams does become wide receiver one material for a team, and this team being the Detroit Lions, I feel like it's going to hurt both of them because St. Brown's not letting go. He's got a kung fu grip on that number one role in Detroit, and I don't see him just like vanishing. So they would probably, with Jared Goff, who played really well last year, let's give Jared Goff his flowers, maybe even a standing ovation out here in front of everyone. He had a great year, but Jared Goff isn't the quarterback that is very likely to be able to feed two number one wide receivers, number one wide receiver numbers. So you're probably looking at one of them, or a rotation that hurts both of them from a consistency standpoint. But Goff did good. I'm not taking away what Goff did. I'm not saying Goff can't continue to do well, but I certainly don't think Goff is going to be able to turn Jameson Williams and St. Brown together side by side in parallel into elite wide receiver ones for their team. They'll both be high-end wide receiver twos that rotate, and you don't know which one's going to drop wide receiver numbers each year. I think someone from a distance is pointing a laser beam in your face. No. Jameson is a deep ball guy, whereas St. Brown is the volume guy. It depends, bro. I know you think this is the glare from all the lights. There's tons of lights and stuff all around here. It's probably from that light right there. Or this light right there, actually, because it's at my angle at my face and off the phone and everything. That would be gutsy, but projected top 15 pick still. The value is number one, I think. Okay, let's see here. I think St. Brown won't be affected by Jameson. I mean, I think the likelihood of Jameson taking over and being an elite fantasy wide receiver one is less likely than St. Brown maintaining it, in my opinion. Goff has one more year and they're moving on. Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely the case. Definitely the case. Prediction for what the Cardinals do at the number 7. Honestly, if it was me, and then I'm the 3, not the 7. If it was me, I'd trade down to the number 7 to 10 to 12 to take Bijan. I don't think Bijan goes higher than 7. So if it was me and I'm the Cardinals, I'd trade my number 3 pick down to 7, and I'd take Bijan. Would they take Bijan at 3? No, they're not taking Bijan at 3. I don't think. I really hope that this entire revamped staff decides that Bijan's the pick. I would very much, Smitty, approve Bijan in an Arizona Cardinal uniform, trying to support this defense, turn this defense around. Eagles, had a phenomenal defense. We snagged up their defensive coordinator as our our head coach. I like them. I like where the Cardinals could be headed, but we need to make sure we're smart with this draft slot. We need to make sure we're very diligent, and we don't pick somebody that is a reach like the Cardinals sometimes do. We need to take Bijan Robinson. If it was me, I would take a quarterback. I wouldn't take just any quarterback. I would take one of the top 2 quarterbacks. Stroud's probably going number 1, but Bryce Young could very well slip to number 3. And if Bryce Young was there at number 3, I would take him. But this staff will not. This new head coach for the Arizona Cardinals loves Kyler Murray, and he's done nothing but produce video after video about how good Kyler Murray is and how he's the future. He said something to the tune of, "It's not very often that you take over a team and you get handed a quarterback like Kyler Murray." So he absolutely loves Kyler Murray. Fields, I think Fields doesn't get traded, but there's certainly a possibility that a team brings an offer that they can't refuse. You know what I'm saying? Gannon did draft Carter's buddy and Jordan Davis. Gannon's going to be, I think Gannon's going to be okay. D-Hop probably gets traded, correct? Probably, but Gannon might not want to. We don't really know yet. When you think about it, though, Hopkins is probably we got getting rid of him before it gets to a point where we can't. It's probably wise, given this year is going to be a throwaway year. Kyler's not going to be ready for week 1, but maybe Kyler's ready for week 5, week 6, week 7, week 8. Maybe he's ready faster than we think. And if the Cardinals can, let's say, start off 2-2 or whatever, and Kyler can come back, I mean, maybe there's some hope. So if I'm the coach and I'm coaching to win, I'm not coaching to sit back and I'm coaching to try and get the Cardinals off to at least a 50-50 start through 4 or 5 games, be either 2-2 or 2-3 at a worst case scenario with Kyler coming back. And if this guy believes in Kyler, I'm not saying I do, but if he believes in Kyler and he builds around Kyler, let's say he trades the 3 pick down to number 7 and we draft Bijan Robinson, and now we got Kyler, Bijan, we keep Hopkins. I'm all of a sudden liking our team quite a bit, to be honest with you. Cardinals are dumb for not getting Lou. I mean, not everybody has the same opinions on OCs and head coaches, and like for example, Cliff Kingsbury got a real bad rap for what happened in Arizona. But if you really look at it, Kingsbury did some good things. Kingsbury showed a lot of courage and balls to draft Kyler Murray when Rosen was still on the roster and he was only 1 year on the team. And they just kind of like I wanted to do with Kyler. Kyler's been on the team more than 1 year, but I mean, come in and draft a QB and then trade away the current quarterback. But he's not doing that. Gannon loves him. Difference is Philly put A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert and a top 3 O-line around Hurts. Chicago isn't close to having that. Look, Chicago is going to be in a pretty decent position in a couple of years, and I don't think any Chicago Bear fans kidding themselves that they're in the exact same spot as the Philadelphia Eagles. But if they build properly around Fields, it could be a pretty good situation. Or if you want to do the flip the script and say, should the Bears trade Fields, there's certainly a world where it makes sense. Whether you may love Fields and say, no way I'm trading Fields. And I get that. And I understand that. I respect that. I can even argue that stance. There's a stance I could easily take saying Fields should not be traded. I don't care if you get 3 first rounders. Fields should not be traded. I don't care if you get the Texans number 2 pick and the Texans number 12 pick. You should not trade Fields. I could argue that point. But I'm also open-minded enough to say that if you traded, let's say, not for 3 first rounders, let's say the 2 pick and the 12 pick are enough to warrant only receiving 2 draft picks for Fields instead of 3 because that number 2 is so high. So let's say you get the number 2 pick and the number 12 pick for Justin Fields. Now you take Stroud or you take Bryce Young, whichever quarterback's left. It's probably going to be Bryce Young because Stroud probably goes number 1 overall. And then at number 12, number 1, you still have the number 1 pick unless you trade that away. So if you trade Fields away for the 2 and 12, you take Stroud at 1. Okay, you take that number 2 traded down to like 7. You draft Bijan at 7. You move another second rounder into the first round. You have 12. You take Jordan Addison or Jackson Smith and Jigba, and you move that second rounder into the first round because of your move down from 2 to 7, and then you end up getting offensive linemen, or you pick your poison. You're telling me the don't trade Fields advocate, you're telling me there's not a world where you can argue that taking Stroud at 1, taking 2 and trading it down for Bijan at 7, moving a second into the first, the 12 pick you use to take the top wide receiver that you feel in the draft is, let's say it's Jackson Smith and Jigba, or let's say the Bears, because they're going and getting a rookie quarterback, want a big target. You go and get Quentin Johnson. You get Quentin Johnson. You get Bijan. You get Stroud, and you move up your second rounder into the first, and you take a lineman. Like, tell me that wouldn't be a recipe for rebuilding very quickly with Stroud and having a team that you absolutely love, or if you like Bryce Young. I mean, if you're a Bears fan or you're an anti-trade Fields person, come in right now and drop a question or a comment and let me know why you wouldn't like that. Like, or that, hey, I'd rather keep Fields, but that is pretty good. Like, I want to know if Bears fans or anti-trading Fields people believe that is a good strategy. Bears bottom 3 roster in the league. But Avatar, would they be a bottom 3 roster in 2 years if they did what I just described? Bijan, Quentin Johnston, offensive lineman, and Stroud all in the first round. 4 first-round picks they would have if they did what I just described. And it wouldn't be hard to do. It wouldn't be hard to do. You can easily get, in my opinion, the 2 and 12 or something like that. And then you can easily take that 2 and flip it into a late first-round pick, very late first-round pick, or just the high top of the second round to move that 2 down to 7. I like Justin Fields, but what Smitty is talking about sounds better. I think it does. I would take Bijan, Quentin Johnston, or Jackson Smith and Jigba, offensive lineman, and Stroud or Bryce Young all day long over Fields. Sorry. Now, granted, you're not getting all that for Fields. You'd already have that number 1 pick, but you'd have everything else because of that. Smitty, I'm a big Bears fan. Don't trade Fields. There's no point in trying to find a QB. Yeah, but what people are saying, Ada, is that you don't have enough surrounding him anyway. So what are you going to do? Waste away and abuse him as he carries his team on his back and gets injured? That's kind of the thinking. I'm not saying it's right to trade him. I'm not saying it's wrong to trade him. But Ada, since you're a Bears fan, do you think you would have an amazing team with what I just described? I can see a team moving. I can't see a team moving 2 and 12 for Fields. You know what's interesting about that stance is you say that, and a lot of people do. You're not the only one, and I'm not saying you're wrong. But you say that, I can't see a team moving to 2 and 12. But yet every Bears fan saying I wouldn't take 2 and 12 for Fields. So clearly there's a discrepancy here as to what is actually good or not good value for Fields. It's debatable. After dropping Muhammad, Bears now have $100 million in free agency. They'll fill a lot of holes. I mean, you're not wrong, Cliff. They're going to do a lot in free agency. But what's up, Mason? Problem is the O-line. Yeah, but it's going to take a lot to rebuild that. And Fields is getting rocked. He suffers a torn ACL trying to do too much. I think what the thinking is that if the Bears are considering trading him, it's that they feel like at the end of the day they're going to be left with a ruined team or a team waiting on a quarterback that suffers a season-ending injury because they can't protect him. So it's like maybe they trade down and this number 1 pick and they get some kind of, it's going to be some bogus trade probably, and you get a couple offensive linemen, then great, that's fantastic. But we'll see. Still needs wide receivers. You could get Hopkins from the Cardinals. Maybe you do that and you draft offensive line in round 1. You figure a way to trade down and so that it makes sense. Avatar dropping a $5 holler. They know they have a lot of capital. They're just trying to see if Fields or the 1.1 will bring them more return. Whatever they get, they'll go with it. I agree. I mean, 90% of this trade Fields rumor that was kind of kickstarted by the Bears themselves by saying that they wouldn't rule out drafting a quarterback in trading. And I don't even know if they said trading Fields. I think they said we won't rule out drafting a quarterback. So that implies they're going to trade Fields, right? But 90% of that is smoke. 90% of it is a posture move to lift up and vault up the number 1 overall pick and to get it out there that hey, don't think we're letting number 2 and number 3 overall grab quarterbacks. If you want a quarterback, you're trading up to the 1 pick to get it. So, posturing, smoke season. But is there a world where it makes sense? I just mapped out, I think, a pretty strong case as to when you would say, you know what, we didn't really want to trade Fields, but that offer you just offered me the 2 and the 12, Smitty, I can't pass that up. Houston Texans, here you go. Take Fields, give me the 2, give me the 12. I'll turn the 2 into 7 and 30, or not 30, but 7 and like 29, 28, something like that. And I'll at 7 and 28, I'll take offensive lineman, and I'll take Bijan, and I'm gonna at 12, we'll take a wide receiver, and we'll change this thing. Take Stroud at number 1 overall. I like Bryce Young more than I like Stroud in some ways, but he has to come in and measure, at a certain height, because being 5'10" and a half ain't going to cut it. And a lot of teams are going to feel that way, and that he could fall. Now, if he falls in the draft, even at 5'10" and a half, let's say, I don't think he's going to be 5'10" and a half. I think he's going to come in a touch under 6 foot. Hopefully not. Hopefully he comes in at 6-0. If he does, I'll be screaming. I might do a 6-hour live stream for 6-0. We'll do a 6-hour live stream to celebrate at 6 feet tall, exactly height. But if he's 5'11", let's say, I'm still excited about him. And if he fell, I mean, maybe he falls into a great spot because of that. Smitty, would it be good? Smitty would be a GM who either builds you a championship roster or destroys your franchise. That's what I always say. I'd either win a Super Bowl within 2 years. LOL, Bryce being 6 foot. I actually laugh, Smitty. A lot of people say that. Hopefully he is. Sometimes guys look small on the field and they're around bigger guys, and we'll see. We'll see. If he's if he's anywhere in the 5'10s, we're in trouble. If he's 5'11 and something, we'll have to see. But the dude's electric. Keep Fields and get him some wide receivers. Bears set up to fail. That's what a lot of people think, and a lot of people don't think, Roger. It's divided. I think both sides have an argument to make. When is the Dynasty live? Later? Probably in about like an hour or so. Is Bryce 6 foot? Will help the Bears. I hope Bryce is 6 foot will help the Bears with the trade down. That's true. Breece Hall. If Bryce Young is 6 foot, that will help the trade value of the 1.1. You're correct. Or, I mean, actually, you know what? You could argue the opposite. You could argue that if Bryce Young comes in at 5'10", and he's no longer a viable top 2 pick, now none of the number 1 overall pick becomes more valuable, because now Stroud's the only guy. You know what I'm saying? So actually, it's probably the opposite of what you said made sense when I first read it, and then I'm like, wait a minute, no, actually, if Stroud's the lone starter, elite starting quarterback out there, because everybody else would be questionable, then maybe that 1.1 is more valuable, bro, way more valuable. Detroit GM would consider Bijan at 6. He might, bro. He totally might. Keep Fields, but in the mind of a GM, it's 50-50. Yeah. I hear you, bro. So if you told me, Smitty, I want you to fix this, I don't want you to trade Justin Fields, I want you to fix it, what would I do? I would trade down, get the best value I could get. I would potentially in the 2 picks that I would get by trading the 1, I would get 2 picks, 1 that could address the offensive line, at least one of those picks. Obviously, address it free agency and later in the draft as well. But I would want offensive line with one of the picks that I get by trading the 1 away. I want Bijan or one of the top 3 wide receivers with the other pick. That's how I fix this situation. I know a lot of people think you got to fix the offensive line through the first round, but there's ways to look at the Kansas City Chiefs. They signed that deal with Patrick Mahomes, that 10-year deal, that 10-year like $500 million deal with Patrick Mahomes. And what do people say about their, at the moment, bad offensive line? They'll never be able to acquire an offensive line again. What do they do in 1 calendar year? They developed and changed and built one of the best offensive lines in the National Football League. Now, part of that is coaching, but hey, that's what you got to do. Part of that is coaching, and you don't have to do it through the first round of the NFL draft. So, like, even if you said to me, hey, Smitty, take that 1 pick, turn it into 2 picks, and address the offensive line, I may not even address the offensive line with the 2 first-round picks you give me. If you said fix everything in Chicago, taking Bijan and Jackson Smith and Jigba, or taking Bijan and drafting Jordan Addison, or taking Bijan and drafting Quentin Johnston with the 2 picks you get for the 1 overall, and then addressing the offensive line through free agency, through the draft, and coaching the position up, you can do what the Kansas City Chiefs did. If you're smart enough, if you're diligent enough, if you're hardworking enough at it, you can do what the Kansas City Chiefs did, and you can still use both of your first-round picks on 2 massive offensive weapons, which also indirectly help the offensive line. Remember me arguing with Coach Hugh Jackson about how Jamar Chase indirectly helped the offensive line more than drafting Sue could have. And Hugh Jackson laughed at me on my own show. Just absolutely belly laughed at me, saying, no. Do you hear what you're saying? You're telling me that a wide receiver helps protect Joe Burrow more than drafting Penny Sewell? Do you hear what you're saying? Coach, I've been doing this 20 years. I know he's been doing what he does for a long time as well, but I've been doing this 20 years. And my answer was, yes, Coach. Yes, Hugh Jackson, former Browns coach. Yes, drafting a guy like Jamar Chase, a generational field stretcher, keeping defenses stretched out, does more for protecting Joe Burrow than Penny Sewell ever could. Even indirectly helping him because he stretches the field out. Not to mention, you're not going to just leave the offensive line alone. You'll have to address it in different ways, but through the 2nd round, 3rd round, 4th round, through free agency, coaching the position up. So for me, if I'm the GM of the Chicago Bears, I take the 1 pick and I turn it into Bijan and Jackson Smith and Jigba, Bijan and Quentin Johnston, Bijan and Jordan Addison, Bijan and Zay Flowers, Charbonnet and Jackson Smith and Jigba, Charbonnet and or Gibbs, Jahmyr Gibbs and Jackson Smith and Jigba, Jahmyr Gibbs and Jordan Addison, Jahmyr Gibbs and Quentin Johnston. That's what I do. That's what I do. That's how I fix the Chicago Bears. And then that in turn helps the offensive line. That in turn, the weapons alone keep the defense honest enough that if you coach up and draft in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round through free agency, an offensive line, you get the right offensive line people in place, people that make great decisions and know how to build up an offensive line. Guess what? Bijan Robinson and Jordan Addison, Bijan Robinson and Jackson Smith and Jigba, Bijan Robinson and Quentin Johnston help the offensive line and help protect Fields, because now defenses have too many weapons to worry about. Tell me that a wide receiver and a running back can't help protect a quarterback. Unbelievable. Take a lap, Hugh. Take a lap, Hugh. Take a lap, Hugh. Charbonnet, my running back 2 in this draft class. He could be the number 1 running back in the draft class if he lands in the right spot, bro. Charbonnet, get Charbonnet, bro. Get Charbonnet. These people that don't understand Charbonnet's coming are going to be very, very upset. Everybody looking for the next Patrick Mahomes, of course they are. Who wouldn't be? Who wouldn't be? That's why Bryce Young's an attractive quarterback to get, because he has a little bit of that magic. But we'll have to see. His height is a concern. Has anybody seen the footage recently that they were showing of Patrick Mahomes, uh, where Patrick Mahomes is in his college uniform and he looks like a linebacker? And it's like, I don't remember him being that big. And some say it's just the jersey and it was just, being on the field with college players and stuff. But he looked like he was like 250 pounds. It was crazy. It was crazy. It's been spread around like crazy. Give Fields the weapons Hurts has. Yeah, I mean, it's easier said than done, bro. But what I just mapped out is definitely the starting point, in my opinion. Charbonnet to the Lions. We'll see. If Fields is in this draft, he'd be QB1, 6'3", 228. Maybe, you know what? I would say if the Fields right now is in this draft, sure. But Fields should have been in our minds now a top 3 pick, top 1 pick, top 2 pick in his draft class, but he was very questionable. Like he had a lot of upside, but there was a lot of questions as well. So easier to describe that too after the fact when hindsight's 2020. You know what I mean? So I mean, Fields is definitely great now, and he would absolutely be the 1.1 if you threw him into this draft class. But if you took Fields from college and threw him in this draft class, he wouldn't be the 1.1. He would maybe be the 1.3, or the third quarterback, because he didn't have the upside that everybody at the moment that everybody says Stroud has and Bryce Young. But Bryce Young comes in at 5'10", then maybe Fields would have actually been drafted ahead of him. But it's easier to talk about Fields now because we know who Fields for sure is. Fields going to run the train on your fantasy team. Going to run the train on your fantasy team. Are the Colts and Texans bad landing spots for Young and Stroud? Texans and Colts don't have, I mean, the Colts aren't bad, but I don't believe in the Colts right now. So I guess it's not a bad spot, but Texans I like for the long term. I do. I think they're building something special, but they do need wide receivers. Are you serious? Hurts accuracy way better than Fields. He would be missing AJ Brown. Look, people that doubt AJ Brown and clown on AJ Brown, Field or Hurts. I don't know who it is. I'm not speaking to anybody specifically, but hit that thumb up button if you can. Hurts is a monster. Hurts is still getting hate. Unbelievable. Inaccurate. I mean, when I told everyone last year that was watching my channel that didn't, already feel the same way I did, that Hurts was going to prove all the doubters wrong, that Hurts was going to prove he's an accurate guy, that Hurts was going to prove that when push comes to shove, he can either run for 100 yards or he can throw for 400 yards. And he's just as likely to have a 400-yard passing game as any elite quarterback that is capable of having a 400-yard passing game. People said that I was absolutely crazy. And people that want to hate on Hurts right now are merely just hurt. They're just haters. They're just jealous that the Eagles are where they're at right now. And if anybody doesn't understand that, unless Lane and Kelsey and some of the offensive line of guys retire unexpectedly, that we're talking about this team being better, way better than last year, because guess what? They have the number 10 pick and the number 31 and the number 30 pick. They have the 10 pick and the 30 pick. So they're gonna get a Jahmyr Gibbs. They're gonna get another defensive piece, whatever they want, and they're gonna be phenomenal in 2023. They're gonna be better than ever. If they draft Jahmyr Gibbs or Bijan or Zach Charbonnet, say goodnight. Say goodnight, NFC. This is the locked and loaded NFC champion in 2023. This is a Super Bowl. Get your tickets ready for the Eagles to be back into the Super Bowl, bro. Like guaranteed. Guaranteed. Jalen Hurts haters are crazy. Absolutely crazy. Smitty says he was going to be at least top 5 quarterback. Wait, hold on. What was it there? Casey says, Smitty says he was going to be at least a top 5 quarterback last year, and he has become that. Yes, sir. Fields and Hurts are very similar. This is peanut butter and waivers. Fields is going to dominate with a slew of picks they're getting for the number 1. I think it certainly could be the case if they do what I said, draft Bijan, draft Jackson Smith and Jigba, and then address the offensive line in the other creative ways they can. Sky's the limit. They try and do everything without getting offensive pieces in place. Like if they draft a defensive player, an offensive lineman, and they don't get a running back, they don't get a wide receiver, Fields is going to break. And it's not his fault. He's a fantastic quarterback, but this is like Lamar not getting wide receivers. Oh, let's trade away Hollywood Brown. We'll work on the defense. How'd that work out, Baltimore? Baltimore is disgusting. The way they handled everything for Lamar last year, pathetic. Baltimore's pathetic. And maybe they change directions this year. Maybe Baltimore drafts Jackson Smith and Jigba or Quentin Johnson for Lamar, and they pay Lamar. But they're $100 million apart, and they're going to tie up all this money in Lamar because of the way that the franchise tag works. They might be forced to trade him. They might have to tag and trade him. Smitty, what's your 2024 Super Bowl prediction? 2024, so this upcoming season, I'm going to say 2023, 2024 Super Bowl prediction. I have the Eagles against, it's going to be one of the Chiefs, the Bengals, or the Bills. But if I had to predict, I guess I'm going to go Bengals or Bills. I think Josh Allen is going to come back on a tear. I think people thinking Josh Allen fell off somehow are crazy. Like, this is going to be a rotation for 10 years, 12 years, 14 years. Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts. Rotation. Fields might get in there someday if they do the right things, or he goes to a different team. Sure, why not? Could Trevor Lawrence or Russell Wilson under Sean Payton bounce back? I doubt that one. But sure, there's always possibility of somebody else getting in there. I'm not saying it's going to be the same cookie cutter teams every single time, but give me Burrow, give me Josh Allen. Josh Allen's going to prove a lot of people wrong that are doubting him for some dumb reason because he didn't have a good, the best year. Josh Allen's he's a baller. He's a baller. He's still improving. He's still getting better. And, Mahomes is probably most likely out of all 4 of them to win the most Super Bowls going forward, not to mention he already had, the ones he already has. But Mahomes is probably the odds-on favorite from this moment forward to win more Super Bowls than those guys. I bet Mahomes wins at least 2 more. Some are lucky to win 1, and guys like Dan Marino never won a Super Bowl ever. So, Hopkins goes to Chicago. That's the picture I've been painting. I think if Chicago doesn't address the wide receiver in the draft and they go defense and offensive line, if they don't get Hopkins from the Cardinals, which is the match made in heaven, it's something I've been talking about for months now, that Hopkins has only played with mobile quarterbacks. Hopkins is the number 1 option that you could deliver to Fields' doorstep, because Hopkins made his living and has played his whole career catching footballs from mobile quarterbacks that are scrambling. He understands exactly how to do it. He does it better than anybody. He's the best in the NFL at catching a football when his quarterback that's throwing to him is mobile and outside of the pocket. He's the best at it, period. And so, you definitely want to attack that if you're Chicago Bears. There's no better fit for the price tag. Smitty, any chance Trey Lance becomes a top 5 to 7 quarterback? Honestly, he would be on the moon. He would be on the moon men if I believe Shanahan wasn't going to screw it up. Do I think Shanahan's going to sell Trey Lance short? Absolutely. I don't trust Shanahan at all. Therefore, I can't in good conscience put Trey Lance on the moon man list again, because Shanahan will fail me. I do not trust him. I don't think he gives Trey Lance a fair shake. I think Trey Lance needs to get out of San Francisco in order to have a shot. I think Trey Lance might get ruined by Shanahan. We may never know how good Trey Lance could have been. I'm rooting for him. I'm hoping I'm wrong, but there's a real good shot that I'm right. Is George Pickens a Mars man yet? No, he probably won't make the Mars man list anytime soon. The Mars man list is full, bro. We got 7 people on that Mars shuttle already, and they're monsters, man. They're monsters. Purdy is better fit for the Niners scheme, says Cliff. Is George Pickens a Mars man? How about trading Hopkins to the Bears and flip picks with Arizona? If you needed a quarterback, you'd do that. But why would you do that if you're the Cardinals if you don't want a quarterback? Cardinals aren't drafting a quarterback. I mean, Gannon already said he loves Kyler Murray, and you don't get a chance to get a Kyler Murray in your career. Like, this is a 1 in a million lifetime opportunity. He loves him. He's not drafting a quarterback, so the Cardinals don't need the number 1 pick. They're not taking a QB. It's a QB pick. As much as I love Joey B in fantasy, I'll take Fields, says Roger. Wow. You take Fields over Joe Burrow? Smitty, the Bears O-line already have a young O-line in Jenkins Jones. Just need a center. Yeah, and all the stuff that, like I said, you coach up what you have, bro. You coach up what you have. You utilize free agency to the best of your advantage. You draft in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th round, then coach those guys up, and then you go after maybe a massive defensive talent. But you use that number 1 pick to get 2 first-round picks this year, whether it's the 7 or like the Detroit Lions example, 6 and 19 or 6 and 20. The 6 and 20, the Lions 2 picks that they have, 6 and 18. I think it's 6 and 18. 6 and 18 for the number 1 overall pick. You could do something like that. You take Jackson Smith and Jigba. Oh man, this pizza sounds good. Part of me wants to order Lou Molinati's here. Pizza's so bad. Let's go see if they're still open. Are you guys closed? You closed at 11? Oh, okay. All right. Thanks. I don't want to make those people make me a pizza and they close in 8 minutes. Man, that smells so good. Is it too late to order a pizza? No, you're good. Let's do it. All right, I'll be back in a little bit. We'll be live on the Dynasty channel. I'll be back.